Okay, well, I think we'll go ahead and get started now. I want to thank you all here for attending the voice session today. And my name is Mark Caputo from Vocollect, territory sales representatives here. I'm also located locally here in North Dallas. I have Corey Sawatsky with me, my senior business consultant, to answer all the hard questions that you may have that I can't answer. Is anyone here familiar with voice technology within the warehouse? Okay, that's great. So it'll be new to everyone, and that's what our intent here is today, is to make this educational. Vocollect is the largest provider of warehouse enablement solutions within the warehouse today. Approximately $100 million to $120 in revenue, and we are a independently operated business unit within Internet as of March of this year. We've been in business for over 20 years, based out of Pittsburgh area, and solely focused on voice enabling the warehouse. And we're the only company in that space today that provides you the flexibility to use our hardware and software within a voice application, or use our software using other hardware like Intermec, Motorola, Scion, etc. So we give you the flexibility within that space. We found that having the ability to provide you not only the software but also the hardware too, so should you choose to do it, gives you the maximum benefit. So to kind of start off here, I'm going to go through a short presentation, and then we'll go through a couple videos and then questions. A little Voice 101. Voice today has started over 20 years ago across all industries. Voice started off in the food service industry, grocery industry, where there was very labor-intensive, low-margin marketplace. We have a lot of pickers and selectors, but now it has grown into all industries. It leverages a wireless technology. So as long as you have RF, you'd be a good candidate then for a voice solution. Again, RF can always be added on at any point in time. Any sort of application within the warehouse can be voice enabled. Again, the primary and probably most popular being the pick and selection process. One of the biggest benefits of voice is increasing your productivity and accuracy. And that all comes from being hands-free, eyes-free, and being able to monitor the process of your workers. We leverage your existing WMS or ERP system or homegrown system. So we get your assignments from whatever system you may have. Again, the flexibility is there. You don't necessarily have to have a Red Prairie system or a Manhattan system, but even again, very popular to take a homegrown system and get the information that we need from that app. How it works is basically we get assignments from the warehouse management system, for example. Those are turned into data, which is sent into audible voice commands. So the end user then confirms and interacts with those voice commands via one of the headsets and mobile units. Here's a very basic user experience so you can understand just how that workflow is to the end user. The system will tell the end user to go to a particular aisle, in this example, aisle 25. The user then responds with a ready command. At that point, they're directed to what slot location to go to. The user goes to that slot location, and to verify he's in the right spot, he typically has a check digit, so to speak, for example, 287. This then confirms that they're at the right location. If it's not at the right location, the system will definitely let them know. You may also even go in there and scan a barcode too. So the ability to use voice and barcode scanning is there. Okay? So there's some instances where it doesn't make sense to use a check digit or you need to use a barcode. Flexibility is there. When the user gets there, then he is instructed on how many to pick. For this example, it says pick 2, the user confirms pick 2. We think the capability to have a countdown feature, like if you had to count out 100 items, you might say 20, and then we'll say 80 left. So you can count down and such too. So a lot of flexibility there. We also handle things like catch weights. Now from this perspective here, I'd just like to give you an idea from an overall view from the back end to the front end, how the process works. So this is just an example of how it can work. The host system will send a snapshot of the DC workers, the inventory, and all the locations to us, along with the work assignments, such as put away or cycle counting or selecting. At that point, the information comes through our system, and a supervisor has the option of prioritizing assignments if need be. If there's a rush order or something that needs to get out right away. So that capability and flexibility is there. At that point, the assignments then are passed on to mobile devices. So they're sent out over the RF network to the users to perform the actual tasks. At that point, the information then, the status and progress of the workers out there performing the tasks is sent back to the system. So here, a supervisor in the warehouse using the browser can get a real-time update on where his workers are, what they're doing, actually what they're saying, whether they're on break or not, and get a real live picture of their progress. And this can be put into a dashboard or any other type of visual if need be, or we provide you with solutions too, such as just your standard reports and things like that that you can slice and dice. And at that point, the information then is sent back to the host system, where things like inventory is updated, financials are updated, and various other back-end systems. So it really enables a complete real-time workflow for users and for management. A little bit about the device here. This is our purpose-built unit. It's a little computer, basically, with memory in it. It supports Bluetooth. You can have a handheld scanner. It will support PDA displays, mobile printers, things like that. And here I have a tethered unit as far as a headset. Again, this could all be wireless using Bluetooth for more flexibility. Within these headsets, which we also manufacture, we have voice cancellation features built in. So there's actually two speakers here, one for the user to speak into and one to cancel all the noise outside there. One other key thing of voice technology, it's important we found you have to be very accurate. You can't just have a system like you have today. You call AT&T and you speak into their voice system, it doesn't understand you, you've got to repeat 10 times. I mean, that's not effective. Add the noise of a busy warehouse environment into that, and the accuracy goes down significantly. So what we do is each user that uses the system creates a voice profile. So for about 20 minutes, they will speak in, go through a pattern of words, and trains the system to listen exactly to their voice. And it's actually an adaptive system too. So in time, it becomes even more accurate. Okay, it's speaker dependent system. And again, being in a noisy environment, we believe that's a necessity. Range?
Wireless.
Right, where you're having yeah.
Outside the RF network? How far does the RF network? Well, I mean, depends what type of antennas and then the strength you've got turned up and everything.
But typically, you'll go and have a survey for your warehouse, so you'll get complete coverage within the 4 walls of your warehouse. And that's where you're going to reside with one of these units. You're not going to go outside the 4 walls of the warehouse.
To another warehouse.
Yeah. Then you would have to have coverage within that warehouse. So, typically what's happened is, again, an RF survey is done, so they blanket the coverage within the warehouse.
Now, if you're outside of coverage, maybe your network goes down, that entire work assignment is loaded onto the device. So all that stuff is stored on there, and as soon as you get back into RF coverage, then it downloads there. So it's kind of stored. So you can store everything on that. Yep.
Full transparent to the types of devices are, again, very ruggedized, so they work well in harsh environments, cold storage and things like that, where you have cold conditions. Again, we have probably close to 24 different variations of the headsets you can use, back of the head, various sides. You can even take these devices and mount them on a forklift, for example. Get it powered actually with a forklift too. So there's some added flexibility there if you have users that are moving around with forklifts or putaways and various other types of operations. You put one of these units on there, mount it on the forklift, gets its power from the forklift, and then put a wireless headset on. And then they can go 30 feet away using Bluetooth and interact with you. Not only do we have our own purpose-built devices, but we understood that there was a need to be flexible. So we support all the major mobile device manufacturers, such as Intermec, Scion, LXE, Motorola, etc. So we have voice clients that work on these other manufacturers' devices to leverage an existing investment in hardware. Another thing to keep in mind too, as far as productivity is concerned, when the users get very productive with these systems, we can speak up to 400 words per minute. So it sounds like Minnie Mouse, but it's very effective for the end users as they go about their job. Because it's very repetitive for them, because they're following the same workflow, same type of motions every day. At this point, all this technology is great, but unless you've got a business case for it, we can prove productivity and accuracy improvements, it's useless. So we'll talk a little bit more about that. We found, again, after having, we've seen over 1,600 customers today, thousands of installations, that the typical productivity increases range around 15 to 20% for case picking. If you're getting with each picking, you're going to see even more improvement, up to 50%, especially if you're using something like paper and labels to voice. Your improvements aren't going to be so dramatic if you're moving from RF to voice, but there's still significant improvements. Typically what we do, you'll find in a voice project is we come in there and do a warehouse walkthrough where we will come in, gather metrics about your current operations, get a baseline, find out what your cost of errors are today, find out what your metrics are today, find out what your labor rates are. We get all that information and then we put that into an ROI tool and then come back with an ROI and then a cost savings analysis. And typically we find 9 to 12 months is the average ROI payback in a voice solution. Because your two areas where you're going to find the most bang for the buck in voice are productivity and accuracy. And again, it depends on your particular conditions and what you're coming from, whether it's paper or scanning, but the benefits can be significant. And there's also, other less tangible benefits such as safety and things like that, as workers are focused on their jobs more. They've got a supervisor in their ear and they're focused on their activity and not looking down at paper and pencil or punching in a keyboard. Again, the first distribution center was voice enabled back in 1991. Over 5,000, 6,000 plus sites today across all 6 continents. 35 different languages and dialects, and I think that number continues to grow. But there's the flexibility there. If you're speaking Spanish and various other things, it can be handled. It's just another language in the system. Okay. From a high level, operationally, at the C level, what's important, what can be effective, with a voice solution. Again, growing businesses, we see folks that are doing more online activity with a storefront online, increasing the cost of an error. It costs one thing to actually have an error that's from warehouse to store, but when you're actually shipping to your end customer, the cost of an error can be much more significant. Marginal pressures, competitive markets. Again, I think that is why the food industry was very quick to pick up the voice because their margins were low and there was a lot of pressure there to squeeze every dollar they could. Government regulations, traceability acts, all things that are affected and can be improved with a voice solution. This diagram here just gives you an idea, gets you thinking about all of the different areas, all the different workflows that can be affected and improved upon with a voice application. Cycle counting, loading, receiving. Again, probably the most popular by far is picking, but then you have put away, replenishment, and some of those other related work activities. Here's some of the companies today that are using voice. Again, this is just a small snapshot, but when I got into this industry, I think what impressed me the most was just the number of brand names, companies that are using voice today within their warehouse to improve their supply chain. Companies like Kroger's, Pet Boys, Papa John's, PetSmart, one of the very largest retailers today, I can't remember, but are using voice today. Actually, the largest. Example here is Pet Boys. I have a little video on Pet Boys I want to show you. They saw a 12% improvement in productivity and also saw an increase over scanning within accuracy. Again, their volumes, even a small 5% reduction in errors was a big deal for them just because the number of items they move on a daily basis. Sports Chalet is a large sports retail company out on the West Coast that saw a 35% increase in the put to store and even another 15% in order selection. Perishable Distributors of Iowa is a great example. They went with paper. And they're a food service company. They saw a 45% improvement in productivity and a very high 9.9995% accuracy level reached, along with ergonomics. Just before we go to any more questions, I'd just like to jump into a couple videos I have here, and I think that's probably the best example I can give of voice being used today. And in our booth, we've got these videos, we've got testimonials, a lot of information, a whole CD full of examples of how voice is being used in various industries. Let's start off with Pet Boys.
Opportunity to see the rollout in our warehouse in Atlanta, and there was a lot of hesitation from the associates there. And then I think that after they got through the training and worked with the system for a few days that I was able to observe, everyone was on board, and it was a quick sell to the other distribution centers and the other associates across the country.
As a distribution general manager, we're responsible basically for a lot of key performance metrics. Amongst those are productivity.
When we started using the voice units, we were really amazed and surprised with the turnaround and productivity increase.
We've seen a difference in the units per hour for our selectors from 20 to 30 to 40% above what we have using a scan gun in the past. The units per hour has definitely increased since we went to the Vocollect system.
I'm Tango Delta.
Ready.
033.
Approximately has gone up 20 to 30 tires an hour per selector, which has increased our productivity.
Another key thing that we measure is what I call getting the right product in the right place at the right time, and that's really your pick accuracy. With Vocollect, you pick and go. It greatly increases speed and accuracy.
With using the Vocollect voice system, you're able to use two hands to pick up two tires instead of picking up one tire with a gun in your hand, and it just eliminates a step.
We've increased using Vocollect, improved 21% from last year, and we believe that improvement will continue.
As well as the integrity of the inventory that we have here within the four walls. Between 2004 and 2005, we showed a 61% improvement in our absolute adjustments, and Vocollect has been a big part of that.
As an industrial engineer, the Vocollect system is an exciting system, and I would encourage other engineers to welcome it. I think the associates think that it's fun. It lets them know that the company cares about their safety and production, and it's going to give them the tools to succeed.
I think that if you're in distribution leadership, then you're kind of on the bubble about where you're heading, and you're kind of on the teeter-totter making the decision, is the investment worth the return? I think that you will find that the return on investment is well worth the product. So that's what we did here at Pep Boys, and I would suggest any of my peers, that's the route to go. All right.
05-811, active.
Is a family business founded in 1974. We started out in the motocross business, making motocross apparel. Everything from boots to helmets and everything in between. Goggles, gloves, jerseys, pants. Our company has two primary brands, Fox, which is about 90% of our business, and the brand is Shift, which is the other 10%. And both brands are sold worldwide. In the past 10-15 years, we've grown inside by a factor of 10. We've gone from having everything under one roof to now we have 3 locations plus a European location. Since last 30 years, we have more motocross national champions wearing Fox than any other brand by far.
New PC?
756.
Final Foxtrot 01.
Our biggest issue prior to going live with voice was meeting the commitments of our customers. Orders were picked one at a time, paper-based. We challenged employees to pick 6 orders manually at one time, and I honestly couldn't do it myself, so how could I ask employees to do that?
Beforehand, the turnover was horrible. I mean, trying to hold on to quality employees was pretty near impossible. We called it a revolving door. I mean, they were in and out constantly.
But because they were paper picking, they had a high level of errors. And because they're a very hands-oriented picking process, they're reaching into boxes. They are the dead-on fit for voice.
It's complete.
We do replenishment using voice. We do cycle counting using voice. And we dynamically slot in our replenishment using the Vocollect system. Previously with the ARP system, we would cycle count every 3 months the entire building, and we would still have accuracy issues. We had an off-site audit come through, and we were at about a 60% rate.
With voice, they're looking at the pick slot, they're grabbing what they need, and they're putting it into the correct location on the cart.
One of the soft benefits that we gained really out of implementing voice, we really have improved the quality of life for our employees. Contrary to what people think, they want to work 12 hours a day and earn the overtime. They don't want to do that. They love nothing more to come in, know exactly what they need to do, and they want the proper tools to help them do it. And Vocollect's helped us do that as well. And now, they're leaving here 5:30, 6:30 versus 9:30. We implemented both the high jump solution and the Vocollect solution early in April, which that part of the year is generally slow. The first 3 months we achieved a 20% ROI, and then over the next 3 months we achieved 100% ROI. So overall in 6 months we had already gotten our return on our investment.
Productivity's gone through the roof since we've gone to voice. We used to pick 80 to 90 lines an hour, some of my superstars on paper. Now they're picking upwards of 150 to 200 lines an hour, which is amazing in itself.
136. Good one. Ready?
Well, when I was first presented by management here with the idea of upgrading our warehouse picking systems, I was a little bit skeptical. I was actually fortunate to have a demo set up in our warehouse with our staff and our SKUs, our pick bins, everything. And I'd say single-handedly, just the 1 hour demo convinced me that it was the way to go.
And he went out on the floor, and on his second try, he was able to get a 66% improvement. I remember seeing Greg Fox's reaction to that and saying, wow.
Any questions? All right. Well, thank you for your time. And again, if you have any questions you'd like to discuss in person, Corey and I will be over at the booth. We're ready to answer any questions that you may have. But thank you for your time. I hope it's been informative.